this is Jana from Pearl Together. This week I have a yarn review for you. I'm really excited to bring to you Manos del Uruguay, and their specific yarn was provided to me to review from Fairmount Fibers, the North American distributor for Manos. Manos del Uruguay literally means the hands of Uruguay. And I think that's fantastic because each skein is made by a woman in a village. They have a cooperative, 12 different villages, and each skein is actually signed by the person who made it and the location and the person. I think that's amazing that you know where it comes from. Not only obviously it comes from the sheep and you know the fiber blend, but you know the person that made it into yarn for you. And I think that really is a personal touch. But speaking of touch, I wish that you had touch vision. This is some squishy stuff. It's made of merino. Let me check my notes here because I have notes because there's a lot to tell you about this yarn. 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide, which is nylon basically. And this is a worsted weight. But the color saturate, I mean, the video doesn't do it justice. The color is fantastic. The color that I chose, it's a semi-solid kind of a tonal, variegated, deep, deep blue. And I love it. Not only is the color fantastic, it's a joy to knit with. And I'm going to show you what I'm working, well, I'm going to show you part of what I'm working on because I can't reveal the whole thing because the person who's the recipient of it might be watching. So nonetheless, first, I want to tell you a little bit about Manos del Uruguay. It's not your average yarn company, and because I'm trying to be as conscious as I can about where I buy my yarn and the environmental impacts, like you've seen me in the past do an interview with Emery at Earth Yarns and how they plant a tree for every yarn, for every skein that they sell. And I've talked about brown sheep yarn and how they recycle the water that they use in their mill. Things like that are important to me. So I like to try to support companies that are conscious about their communities and the environment. What strikes me about Manos del Uruguay is that they are produced by women who are empowered to support themselves. So the skeins are produced by women in these 12 different villages, and it's a cooperative. And so the artists and the people that the employees of Manos are part owners of the company. So I think that's fantastic. I'll link to a video down below that is from Manos del Uruguay that tells a little bit of their history and how they came to be in this cooperative and what the good that they do for these rural women in employment and in their villages. So I'll link to that down below. The other thing I want to point out is that Manos del Uruguay has been in existence since 1968. And the reason that they came into existence was to help rural women become more self-sufficient and to have a way to support themselves and their families. So I think that's fantastic that they've been doing this as a cooperative in this way for over 50 years. They're also a member of the Fair Trade, the World Fair Trade Organization. So I think that's an amazing reason to support these women and their company. So thanks again to Fairmount Fibers for providing these skeins for me to knit with and to review. And even though these skeins have been provided to me, these opinions are absolutely objectively my own. First of all, I want to say this is super squishy. It's very, very soft. It's just a joy to work with. It's like knitting with butter. It's just tactily a meditative dream. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I mean, just a garter stitch back and forth is just so pleasurable to knit with. I just am really enjoying the project that I'm doing right now. Speaking of which, the project I'm doing has a fair amount of cables. Now I'm going to kind of fold this up a little bit so it's not super clear what it is, but there is a cable pattern here and I want to show part of that. I'm doing all of these cables without a cable needle, and I have found this yarn to be a dream to work with as far as stitch definition and not being splitty, even though I'm using my normal chow goose with the lace tips, the red lace chow goose that I love so much. The yarn is not splitty. I've just really enjoyed knitting this particular project. So I'm really thankful that I have enough to finish this with, and maybe a little left over. I'll make a beanie or a hat for myself, or even a cowl, because it's very, very soft. So I'm really enjoying it. And the color saturation is fantastic. So if you look on their website, which I'll link down below, there's lots of colors. The Alegría Grande is the name of this yarn, and that literally means big joy. Alegría means joy in Spanish. It's my understanding. And I just have rudimentary Spanish. So big joy. And I would say that fits. I would say that fits this skein. It really does. I have not found, I mean, I'm trying to be objective here and I'm thinking, okay, if I can improve anything about these skeins, I think the only thing I would improve would be making them come in bigger yardage, just like a giant skein. So you don't have to, have as many necessarily. If you're going to make a sweater quantity, you could have less joins and less. I would suggest alternating skeins because they are hand dyed, so there's going to be some tonal variation. So maybe bigger skeins would be a suggestion I would have. But other than that, I mean, I really, as far as a squishy worsted weight yarn that I would buy again, I would definitely choose to support this company for all of the ethical reasons I discussed, but also it's just a joy to knit with. It really is. I think the name, it's aptly named. So these come in 197 yards or 100 gram skeins. Your standard worsted weight gauge, US 6 through 8-ish needles, depending on your project and what you're doing. I appreciate the chance to do some of these reviews because I haven't ever had a skein of this, and it's definitely something I would buy again. I would seek it out because it's a joy to knit with. So get yourself some. I'll put the link down below so you can try it too. This particular colorway is called Oceano, which is also appropriate. So I'll put some photos because obviously the video color isn't going to be fantastic. I'll include some photos here as well. So in conclusion, I would definitely recommend this yarn because it's soft and squishy, but there's lots of soft and squishy yarn out there. But what makes the company unique is their commitment to employing women, and it's a company owned by women, run by women, employing women, and supporting women. So especially in rural areas in Uruguay, I think that's super important. And so why not support that? That's amazing. All the links are down below. Thanks for watching.